Thank you for being here. Let's talk about the first month post-gastric sleeve surgery. This is very much feedback from my own experience. So if you're ever considering anything like that, you should be going for the doctor's opinion at all time at first. But this is what I've found that works best after I've been through it. You will get cravings and your mind will mess with you, but it's not the sort of cravings like you've experienced before. Absolutely nothing like that. After the initial phase, that's just the clear liquid phase, you crave to eat something that's a little bit more solid, to chew something with, and it's still not quite the case to get there. In the first month, I do recommend to find, 5 or 10 foods that your body can tolerate and just stick to those. Eat often and in very, very small quantities, like a couple of spoons, 2 or 3 tablespoons of food. Even if you want something that's crunchy or something that you need to chew a little bit, your stomach is not ready for it yet. So go for foods as soft as you can. Even if you go for like something like a puree, you still sort of need to stretch it with a bit more liquid milk or anything that you could add to it. Any basic idea that you would have had over anything healthy is not relevant for the state that your stomach is in right now. Research some foods before, make sure that they don't bloat you, don't experiment too much. Do not mistake this period for another healthy period that you have been in when you're trying several foods. No, this is very much a time to prioritize the healing of your stomach still. Any basic idea can be really painful for the stomach. It can cause bloating, and you want to avoid this at all costs throughout this phase. You don't know what will give you cramps and make you bloated. It's not a fun experience at all. And a really important advice I would give you is to glue a bottle of water to your hand and to consistently and constantly drink out of it. Be very mindful not to be over thirsty and to drink too much, but always drink enough and as often as you can, which is something that you'll need to do for the rest of your life, really. But I always have a bottle in my hand, take 5 sips, not really fast ones, and then I leave the bottle a bit and then I go again all the time. It's been a month, so probably been wondering how much I've lost in that period of time, and for me it was 11 towards 12 kilograms. This isn't a phase where to obsess over the weight loss. It's, again, prioritize the healing of your stomach. At some point I did get on the scale for fun, which is something I never thought I would say in my entire life. But I used to get on the scale for fun because I couldn't believe how a few hundreds of grams are dropping off all the time. Even from one day to another, that was a unheard of concept. Don't obsess over the scale at this stage, or, well, to be honest, at any stage. I think it's just wonderful that the scale doesn't really have a painful connotation anymore. For every physical kilogram that you lose, to me it feels like I'm losing one mentally as well. That pain and pressure and discomfort and those nasty thoughts are going away and lifting off my mind as well. The healing of the stomach and experimenting with food has really kept me busy in the first month. I just got distracted in the process, and I understood that this is where I need to be, and that regardless of what I do, doing it correctly though, there's an active process of fat loss happening in the background. I just left myself carried away with the process, knowing that this is where I need to be, and that was an enormous relief in itself. Still, when it comes to eating, I would recommend to be in a stable environment as much as possible. There is an element of discomfort when you're eating. The softer your foods, the smaller the discomfort. Eat in a place where you feel safe. There you can, lie down or express yourself if you have cramps. I found it easier to eat by myself. I think you need to get used to the fact that you're just taking 2-3 tablespoons. So maybe if you go back to work and you have lunch in a public setting, you might tend to pick up the old speed you used to have, or the speed of the other person in front of you, and this is not the case at all. I would recommend eating with another person at some point, because you cannot have a meal by yourself unless it's packed for you, but when it comes to eating out, it's quite challenging to order a portion by yourself unless it's soup, and you might not want that to sort of go to waste. But in the first month I found it easier for me personally to eat by myself, but I don't think this is something that applies to everyone. One of the things I I couldn't quite wrap my head around is just how little I had to cook. In the few instances where I cooked for myself, it doesn't matter what I did, food ended up being wasted, either ordered or made. It just wasn't happening, which is okay. And it's a very comforting feeling knowing that you take 2 spoons, you take a break, and then you're full. Like, there's no emotion left to that food that you're giving away or throwing away. One of the discomforts of this period are the injections that you need to give yourself in the stomach. The doctor decides the period based on the strength of the substance in the injection. However, for me it was, I think, 4 weeks. I've had to do these injections to prevent any form of blood clots forming for other types of surgeries, and either I didn't know how to perform them correctly on myself, or I've just changed the brand, but in this time I haven't had any problems on my skin, like no, I don't know how they're called in English. Well, funny enough, even if they're anti-blood clots injections, in the specific place where you do them, you might end up having a reaction to it. And in this case, I haven't had absolutely any of them. I had just like the lightest bruises, given that you do them daily and in the same area. The moment you stop doing them, you forget you've been through that stage. And I'm recording this video later than a month, not immediately after hitting a month. And it honestly feels like it's gone so fast. I don't feel now the same like I felt in the first month, and this is normal and this is ideal, but it's just amazing how any discomfort that I've gone through then, I'm almost struggling to remember now. But I do recommend to take a holiday from work as much as you can. I think you just need to take care of yourself. You don't want stress, you don't want rush, you don't want to be tempted to have the same things that you had before. I haven't had any coffee in that period, of course, because you can't have it in the first month, and I wasn't craving it either. And I'm glad I wasn't in an environment where I was maybe surrounded by coffee or anything like that. And this is not a period where you just need to restrict what you're doing just for the sake of a minute or a moment, or for weight loss. You just need to do it to prioritize your recovery, and this, I cannot stress this enough, how serious this period needs to be taken. And you're going to go through it, especially if you don't have any health complications, you're going to go through it fine as long as you make the right decisions for yourself and that you clearly follow the instructions given from your medical team. A really important element in this period is to really move your body. In the first month, for the first week I was in the hospital, and then for the next 3 weeks I have walked a total of 150 kilometers. Phew, for a second I thought I wasn't recording. Could you imagine that? With my water bottle in my hand, I just walked to and from everywhere, and I've really enjoyed the process, listening to podcasts, listening to music, and feeling from one day to another how my posture is changing, how the movement when I walk in my body changes. The back pain was either gone or kicking in at a much later. Well, I didn't take any photos of before and after. That before situation will forever be imprinted in my mind, but it was really nice to see how clothes that didn't fit me before the surgery were starting to fit, or to be comfortable, or some of them to even be a little bit loose. And funny enough, it just sort of went like time traveling, because even losing 12 kilograms, you do it, you gain them or you lose them usually in a much longer space of time. So every time I wear something that I haven't in a long time, it feels like I've jumped in time, or I've time traveled in some way. It can really play with your mind in a really nice way, how easy this process can be compared to every other attempt that you've had before, at least in my case. Even if I still have a long way to go, I started doing body massages quite early on, from 2 weeks maybe after the surgery. However, I've just avoided the area where the incisions are, so I focused on my lower abs and on my thighs. I've chosen a medical grade radio frequency device, and it's worth starting to invest into any sort of massage devices to help your skin through the process, especially if you haven't done anything for it in the time building up to the surgery. I think even after the surgery, the weight loss is the most drastic in the shortest space of time, and then it's going to slow down. So I really do recommend helping your skin if this is something that is important for you. Plus, consider making this process as enjoyable as possible. Whilst you're losing weight, you should be enjoying that process instead of having any negative mindset towards skin, because it's more important that you're losing weight than to be upset about how your skin looks. So try to anticipate that and to still enjoy the process. This is where I leave you after a month. I've lost 12 kilograms. I am still in a very familiar territory. This is a weight that I've hovered around quite a few times in my life. So I am just really excited to continue to lose weight and to reach weights that I haven't been at since potentially high school, really. So that's talking about time traveling. See you in the next episode.